So I'm here with the lovely Mrs. Alice Hurley, and she is not only a charter board member, but she is the founder of the Columbia Urban League. I am so elated to talk to you today and simply just be in your presence.
Thank you.
So tell me about the early start of the Columbia Urban League.
Okay, I came to Columbia in 1961 when I got married. And at that time, there was no urban league in Columbia or no urban league in South Carolina, period. And I had just, I had been a student at the Atlanta University School of Social Work, where Whitney Young at that time was the dean of the school. And it was also at the time that he was being groomed by the Ford Foundation to become the executive director of the National Urban League. So he was in and out of the school, but I had been working in Atlanta for 5 years for a radio station. So I already knew him, and I was able to get a scholarship to go to the School of Social Work. So when I came to Columbia and found that there was no urban league, I told him, I said, Whitney, there's no urban league in Columbia. I said, there's no urban league in South Carolina. So he didn't say anything. So then maybe about a year later, I saw him again at an affair, and I told him again, I said, there's no urban league in Columbia. So he said, okay, I'll tell you what, I'll send you two of my field directors. So he sent two men. One was Harvey Kearns, and the other one was Herman Sweat. And they came and sat in our living room, and they told us what we need to do to get it started. And so the first thing we had to do was to put together a board of directors. So they left, and then during the ensuing time, we identified people that we thought would be good on the board. And of course, it had to be an integrated board.
Yes, ma'am.
So we found several people in the community, and we put that board together, and then they came back. And we had the first meeting of the board, and it just took off from there, because of course, they're very efficient in what they do. So once we got it established, and that may have been in 62 or 63, but it took until about 65 to really get it going. And then Whitney Young came and installed the chapter or the affiliate.
Yes, ma'am.
Here. And a lady named Daisy Dunn Johnson was the first executive director. And we've been fortunate to have had some very dynamic, executive directors who have helped it grow. But nobody has done the job that
Mr. McLaughlin.
Yes,
ma'am.
And Mr. McLaughlin has done over. He's been here about 30 years or so.
Ma'am.
Yeah, and so it has just grown so magnificently during that time. So, I just feel like I'm the grandmother.
You're the Columbia Urban League mother.
Yeah.
So with you starting the Columbia Urban League, what really prompted you to start it? Was it some of the current events that were going on?
Well, when I was in Atlanta, this was the time of the sit-ins, and the Atlanta Urban League was very active, and I was
in the civil rights
in the movement, and I was on the board for a while. And Whitney Young at that time was the director of the board. And so when I came to Columbia, it was just sort of natural that was on my mind, because I knew the kind of work that the Urban League does. Now, I'm not negating the work of the NAACP.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I think they both have a role in the community. And the NAACP, I always say, they agitate and they litigate, and they get the movement organized and going. But then once you achieve what you want in the community, you need somebody to come in,
continuity.
yeah, and then get the work done
Yes,
and carry it forward. And that's the role of the Urban League, because the Urban League is a social work organization. And so they pull together all the facets of the community that need to address the issue, and just sort of quietly move in and get the job done.
So tell me about some of the early causes of the Columbia Urban League. Like, what were some of the programs? What were some of the main focuses of empowerment that the Columbia Urban League embodied at that time?
Well, I'm the kind of person that I like to organize and get things going.
Yes, ma'am.
But I'm not the day-to-day, kind of administrator that does the work. But the early focus, of course, was to get the community together to address the issues of integration in a calm but efficient way that things get done without, without violence. And
There's a peaceful way of doing
things. A peaceful way.
Yes, ma'am.
And a non-competitive way, and also a way that helps the community to integrate, and for each to identify the resources, and to help the community define its needs, and then to help those needs become addressed, define the different facets in the community that need to address a particular need, and to bring them together to the drawing board and get things started, And that's what JT does so magnificently. When you go to the Equal Opportunity Dinner each year, you just see how it has grown, and all of the business and service, facets, organization in the community. It's just so wonderful to see all of these different facets come together.
And when different multitudes and different organizations of total different causes, and how
and all the different businesses.
Yes, ma'am.
That contribute to the programs of the Urban League. It really is I'm very proud of the way the Urban League has developed.
So with all the current injustice for even my generation, what advice could you give anyone, especially with the current events such as police brutality? Of course, we have racism that still occurs daily. Yes. What advice could you give?
Well, I don't think racism is really ever going to go away.
No, ma'am.
Because it's ingrained in people's identity from the time they're born.
It's learned.
It's learned
yes,
in
ma'am.
The family. So I think that for Black people, we need to be cognizant of the impact that racism has on our children, and on the community. And I think that as long as we can keep the Urban League viable and going, that they would continue to be the force in the community that will address these issues in a productive way.
Yes, ma'am.
So that you're not antagonizing anyone.
No violence.
But you're seeking solutions and ways to address the current issues. The issues are going to change as we progress through time.
Yes, ma'am.
And they may take different take on a different face. But
the cause is still the same.
But the causes are the same.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think we need to help our young people to be aware that there's a job for them, to be active in their community, and not to take things for granted. So it's not something that there's a one answer to.
Yes, ma'am.
There are going to be multiple answers, and there are going to be multiple facets in the community that will need to address the issues.
Mm-hmm.
So an organization like the Urban League can be the force that brings these multiple facets
Mm-hmm.
together to address the issues. So I think there's always going to be a role for an organization like the Urban League. I don't think its purpose is ever going to go away.
Never.
Because human nature doesn't change.
Mm-hmm.
And so while the problems may evolve
Mm-hmm.
over time, the underlying dynamics are always going to be there.
Yes, ma'am. So you have held many roles professionally in life: funeral home director, social worker.
Yeah.
So, what advice could you give someone professionally?
Well, I'm always particularly interested in the role of women.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm so glad that I didn't come along during the generation when women were expected to stay home and have babies
Mm-hmm.
and
And
let
cook.
her and cook.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, well, I did all of that.
No, but you still had your identity.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes, ma'am.
I did all of that, and but at the same time, I always tell my daughters, have your own money.
Yes, ma'am.
So I feel that women should always have a way of taking care of themselves and to go as far as they are capable of going in this world.
Yes, ma'am. You hear that, ladies? Have your own
Have your own money.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
I have been blessed to be in your presence today. I don't think you understand how completely humbling this has been for me. So once again, I'm here with Miss Alice Hurley, and she's the founder of the Columbia Urban League. In addition, she is a charter board member. We are celebrating 50 years of service, 1967 to 2017.
I am the Columbia Urban League.